Welcome to Speak Your Piece podcast. My name is Ian McNaughton, Big E. SYP creator Scott is here. Special guest Kaz, my dog, is roaming around here somewhere. We are doing this podcast. What's today? July 7th, 2022. We're doing this on the night of round one of the NHL Draft. Scott, how's it going?
It's good. I'm tired, but I'm happy to be on the podcast again. It's good to be back. Finally, it's been 2 weeks?
Probably.
Since I've been on a podcast? Yeah, it's been a while, but good to be back. And
we're behind.
We're behind, but we're going to talk about the draft, and I'm very excited. This is probably my favorite day of the year. We're recording this on draft. The first draft
is still happening right now.
Yeah, it's still happening right now. Anyways, it's one of my favorite nights in the hockey calendar. I've been looking forward to it for a long time, and it's been good so far. But we'll get into that more here later, and
we'll discuss some trades. We'll discuss some picks. Since we've been gone, Colorado's won the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
Congratulations to the Avalanche. As a result, they have no picks, so they are not relevant this weekend, but they don't really care because they won the Cup.
Who cares? They won the Cup.
Who cares? Yeah. Tampa Bay was 2 games short of a three-peat. They also have no picks, but it doesn't matter.
Nope, they have one at 31.
No, they traded that one, didn't they? Isn't that the...
Nope, that's theirs now.
Wasn't that the Hagel?
Nope. Hagel was a first-round pick next year.
Next year?
Yeah.
2 years?
Yeah, it's either way. It looks like Tampa Bay's got a pick at 31 here. So
kudos to both teams for making it. Do you have any quick thoughts on...
It was a great Cup final. Game 1 was one of the best games of the year. Of any game, regular season, playoffs, you name it, that was one of the best games of the year. Really good series, fun to watch. Good for the Avs, kind of like Ian said. And they were due. They're overdue at this point, and I'm thinking they're going to win at least 2 more, but we'll see. Should be good.
Overdue is related to TSN's Overdrive in some way, right? You gotta that overdue is like TSN Goes. The streaming service version.
Sure.
Just watching Kaz here sniff everything. What do you think we should start? What do you think is the biggest storyline today? Is it the Montreal Canadiens?
I think we should go in chronological order.
I
think we should start from maybe the Georgiev trade this morning.
So let's go back to the very beginning this morning. Georgiev, Alex Georgiev traded from the Rangers to the Avalanche for, was it 2/3?
2/3 and a fifth. Yeah.
2/3 and a fifth, a third this year.
Yep.
A third next year, a fifth next year.
I believe so. Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense for the Rangers because he's an RFA. They weren't going to pay him big bucks. They already have their starting goalie.
Yeah.
You get some draft capital out of it.
Yep.
A fair bit, not a lot. Like they're, 2/3 isn't nothing.
It's not nothing. It's and again for the Avalanche here, this kind of leads me to believe that Darcy Kemper is gone and Georgiev is going to be their new starter per se. Because again, he's a good goalie. He just was kind of behind one of the best goalies, the best goalie this year in Vezina winner, Igor Shesterkin. The returns, okay. I think
it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine. All things considered, and I don't mind this at all. And again,
I don't know if either team wins the trade per se. They both kind of just fill things that they have to do with that.
Again, it's Again, we'll see how Georgiev is in his first year as a starter in Colorado, but I'm thinking if he's at least half decent, then it's going to be fine.
I was going to say, I think that trade depends on how you feel about Georgiev. Yes. I think it depends on how you feel about him. I don't know if he's a 40-game starter in this league.
He's a young goalie. He might be. I'm thinking he might be.
We'll see. We talked about it earlier where the Colorado defense might be able to help him out a bit.
They're just such a good team that Georgiev doesn't have to be lights out like he was you saw what Shesterkin had to do in the playoffs. He had to more or less carry his team.
Yeah. And
again, Georgiev couldn't do that quite to the same extent that Shesterkin did. And I think in a system like in Colorado where there's such a good team, he'll be fine. I'm thinking he'll be okay. So
that trade happened. That was the first thing to happen today. The Chris Letang extension happened today as well.
That was big. So that's 6 years, $6.15 million for Chris. It's a lot of money for a guy that's 35, but
it's like right now he's worth $6 million.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like in like when he's 40 and 41, is he going to be
sure?
worth
But again, here's the thing with Chris Letang and how he plays the game. He's kind of like I don't want to say like Kimmo Timonen in a way, but he's just very like he's not a super aggressive defenseman. He's just a good, solid puck mover and a good guy to have as a leader around the locker room. And he may not play all 6 of those years, but he'll get his money's worth for about 4 of them. I think that's just me. But we'll see.
And for the Pens, like I think there's 3 years left on Crosby's deal.
Yes.
So that's more or less your window of winning. Is those 3 years?
More or less. And again, Crosby could extend further. And again, Crosby's going to be Sidney Crosby until he retires, more or less.
Yeah.
Because he's just that good. But it's, I like it. I like the Letang signing. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Malkin now and see how that's going to play out. Because again, I don't know. It's hard to say because again, depends on what direction Pittsburgh wants to go. If they think they can run it back with Malkin and with Crosby and Letang, then we'll see. But I'm not sure Ron Hextall, GM of the Penguins, actually thinks that. But we'll have to see.
It kind of feels like you have to sign both of them in a way, doesn't it?
I wonder if Malkin will take less money. I wonder. Makes you wonder.
Makes you wonder. So Letang deal was signed today.
Yep.
Pittsburgh kept their number 1 defenseman.
Yep.
Then the Brinkat trade.
Yeah, that was big. That was at about that was confirmed at 2:15, about just after 2:15 p.m. earlier today, just before the draft. So Chicago gets a 2022 first round pick, which was the 7th overall pick. That's what they got initially. We'll get to more of that later. They also got a 2022 second round pick and a 2024 third round pick in the deal for Alex DeBrincat.
So it was essentially the 7th overall pick, the 39th overall pick.
Yes.
And a
2024 third round pick
in 2 years.
Yeah.
For DeBrincat.
Yes.
Which I think that's a win for Ottawa. I think that,
it is. Definitely.
You get the best player in the trade.
Yep.
You get a guy who can be a 40-goal scorer.
Yep.
You get a guy who, I don't know, is he going to play on that right wing? I mean, with top
DeBrincat, I would, I mean, DeBrincat's going to fit in, I would think, really well with Norris and Tkachuk. Or, I mean, again, at this point now, the Senators have so many weapons in that top 6 that you could kind of rotate through them and see what you like and see how chemistry and line matching works. But I like the top 6 now. I think and again, DeBrincat is a younger guy still, but he's going to provide some experience. He's played with Taves and Kane, like some of these big name guys and absolute studs. So I'm thinking DeBrincat's going to be good.
I don't know, because with Ottawa, you would think they would have to re-sign DeBrincat after this year. He's got 1 more year left at, I believe the cap is like 6 point something.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is the kind of guy they're going to start kind of rebuilding, or not, maybe not even like they're rebuilding anyways, but like just another addition forward. He's going to be a big part of that for sure.
Like that's a guy I feel like you have to re-sign at 9.5.
Depends how he does this year.
If he has a really good year, he leads the team in scoring, all that sort of stuff.
Both of things he might do. But again, here's another thing with DeBrincat too, is that they got to worry about signing Stützle. I guess worry about signing
Stützle,
Tkachuk as well. Longer. No, they got him already. But
they got him already. Stützle's the guy you're worried about. I think Norris is an RFA this year.
Yep.
Batherson, I believe, is locked up.
Batherson's locked up now. Yeah, he's good.
Shabbat, I feel it's locked up. Basically, I think they need DeBrincat, and they maybe need another goalie. Question.
Oh, we know they need a goalie for sure. And again, they could show up
and
their
probably
defense core.
And probably another defense. Yeah.
But up front, the Senators.
The forwards are fine. The forwards are fine. Yeah. From Chicago's perspective, God, this is an underwhelming return.
Yes and no. I mean, let's finish the Chicago story later because we've got more to talk about with Chicago.
All right. So DeBrincat goes to Ottawa. That was before the draft.
Yeah. And then during the draft. So actually, let's talk about the first few picks first, and then we'll go into the Chicago Ottawa situation.
So the draft hits.
Yes.
Not at 4:00, at like 20 after 4.
The first pick was made at 4:30.
Yeah.
And the first pick was
Slavkovsky.
Yeah, there you go. You got it.
I got it eventually.
Yeah. Juraj Slavkovsky from Slovakia, plays in Finland. went first overall to the Montreal Canadiens,
which is not the guy I said they would be taking.
You said right. I was flopping back and forth. I think I did say right in the end, but I'm kind of happy I was wrong. I think Slafkovsky's a better fit in Montreal. I think he just fits that system better, and they got Suzuki there and plays pretty much the same game as Shane Wright. So putting a big winger in there is going to be huge for Montreal.
So you basically next season you start off Slafkovsky, Suzuki, Caulfield.
It's pretty sick first line, or that will be eventually. I don't know if Slafkovsky can play first line right away, but I think he'll make the lineup for sure.
That's a pretty
nice first line.
Pretty nice first line.
Yeah.
Simon Nemec went
second to New Jersey. That was it's again looking at it now, I was like shocked that Shane Wright didn't go up one of the first or second. But looking at it, like I said, looking at it now, I do like that pick. Nemec, the Devils need another defenseman, and he's a right shot. Nemec is going to be such a solid two-way defender, and I don't want to say Pietrangelo, but he kind of reminds me of Pietrangelo in a way, just like a steady, smooth two-way guy, plays both ends of the ice really well. Like, yeah,
I mean,
Nemec looks good to me.
It kind of shores up their back end, like we talked about shoring up a back end with Ottawa.
Yeah.
With New Jersey, you got Dougie Hamilton for the long haul.
Yep.
You got Luke Hughes in the system.
Ty Smith is there. He's still a young guy.
Ty Smith in the system.
It's
now you're adding Nemec to that.
Damon Severson's still around. Like the Devils have a solid defense core, and again, they're gonna probably move around some of these pieces eventually. But the Devils are building up a good overall prospect pool for one. Yeah. But especially on their back end, the defensive core, Luke Hughes and Nemec back-to-back years. I like it.
But now they just need a goalie.
Like a lot of teams do. But
They as we talked about.
Is Mackenzie Blackwood the solution? That's you don't think so?
I think we've established that he's probably not the answer.
There was talk about him being the third goalie on the Canada team.
Yeah, there was.
There was, right? Not anymore. So
either way. They put a lot of different people on the Canada team.
True, they could.
Third overall, Logan Cooley.
Yep.
To Arizona.
Yep.
Which again, that makes sense because he's an American.
Yep.
He's a guy that Arizona. I don't know if he's going to play for the Coyotes next year. I think he's playing college hockey.
He's going to be college. But
he's a guy that the Coyotes need to help sell to their fan base, if that makes sense. A young guy, an American.
Yeah, and the thing with Logan Cooley's game, he might be the most dynamic player in this class in terms of sheer skill and talent. He's one of those guys that will, he'll put put people in seats in Arizona in a place where, like Ian said, desperately needs that. It's gonna be, it'll be cool to see what he can do in Arizona, and if he along with the other draft pick, who we'll talk about later from Arizona, can like kind of bring some flash and some dynamic, not even just play, but also just like a different, fresh mentality, attitude to Arizona. And we'll talk about the other guy later, but yeah.
So with that, this is about, I believe it was like between the third and fourth pick is when all the trades started happening.
No, it was before the seventh pick. It was before. Anyway, it was after Cutter Gauthier got picked.
Oh, I thought it was after Cooley.
Anyways,
the point was that Seattle took Shane Wright
at 4,
which again, best player available. I've kind of been at this point, I've kind of been saying it the whole time.
Yep.
You take the best player available.
Yep.
If you're Seattle, you say he Wright's kind of like Beniers. They play a similar style, but I think if you're Seattle, again, you're trying to.
Yeah.
This year they've been talking a lot about the prospect pool and trying to add prospects to the system.
Yep, for sure.
Again, like maybe we're wrong about Shane Wright because of the fact that he's dropped down to 4th.
Yeah.
Maybe we're wrong about him, but if you told Seattle fans last year, like, oh yeah, you're going to get Shane Wright in the draft,
they'd be going ballistic.
Yeah, they'd be going ballistic.
Yeah.
So
as they should be. And again, here's the thing with Seattle's a special case because they don't have, like you said, they don't really have the prospect pool that some of the other teams do because they are an expansion franchise. And the thing, I think this is a perfect storm for Seattle in that now you've got your number 1 and 2 centers, pick who you want, Beniers, Wright, 1, 2.
Yeah.
You've got them for 10 years as your core. And that's a pretty good core. I don't know about you. That's pretty good.
And
I don't mind
I
that.
think most teams would love to have that
Yeah.
as their center.
And now that again, I think there was 3 players that thought they could really go first overall: Slavkovsky, Kuttergochi, and Shane Wright.
I think Cooley was getting some.
I think Cooley was getting some love too.
Yeah.
And the thing with Ryder is, now he dropped to 4. He's mad. I think he said in the he probably didn't see this, is pretty fresh, but in his post-draft interview, he's like, yeah, I definitely got a chip on my shoulder. Like I'm, ready to. He didn't say I'm ready to prove him wrong, but like he's, he didn't say he's disappointed because he's not going to say that. He's obviously happy to be, to go to Seattle.
He wanted to be number 1.
But yeah, he was, again, he kind of grew up like all through his junior days thinking he's going to go first overall.
Yeah.
And again, he put the work in, and, he didn't have a great year this year. And this is maybe why he fell to 4. But again, Seattle got right at 4, and it kind of fell into their lap, and we'll see what happens. But it'll be cool to see what Shane Wright can do in Seattle for sure.
So you have Wright, Beniers. Probably, I would think both of those guys are going to be in Seattle next year.
Beniers for sure. Beniers will play full time. Wright, it's hard to say, but he'll definitely get a good look. He'll probably play his 9 games, and then we'll see.
Then we'll see.
Yeah.
Could we play for Coachella Valley, the Firebirds?
Should we play for Firebirds? Well, I think he'll go back to Kingston. But.
Probably. 5th overall. Weird, not a weird pick, but a weird team in the Flyers. I kind of don't know what the Flyers are. Yeah. I think they're with the Flyers. I think they're in the middle of an identity crisis. They bless you. They took Kuttergochi.
Yep, they did.
Solid hockey name.
Oh yeah, it's one of the best names in this draft class, and a draft class with a lot of good names.
A lot of good names. So Kuttergochi up there.
It's definitely up there. Yeah.
They talk about physicality with him, bit of toughness, hard nose per se. That sounds like a Philadelphia Flyer.
Kuttergochi is a Philadelphia Flyer. And again, he's going to bring that power forward build, a bit of a bite to his game. And I think, I don't want to say he's like Bobby Clark, but he just plays like a heavy, kind of physical yet skilled James Van Riemsdyk-esque-ish, but better type of game. He's a top end player, and he's going to be fun to watch for sure.
So I don't hate that, because it definitely seems like a Flyers type pick.
It is. Yeah. I agree.
I don't know what I don't know if he's going to be in Philadelphia next year. He's a USA player, isn't he? So he's going to be playing some college hockey next year.
So yeah, he's nationally listed. His amateur league is the under 18 national training development program. However, his home country is listed as Sweden. I'll get back to you guys on that one. I'm going to look into this one.
Scott's going to do some research.
Yeah.
Number 6, that was David Jiricek pick to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yep.
Speaking of trades with Chicago, that Seth Jones trade is really doing wonders for the Columbus Blue Jackets, isn't it?
Yeah. So again, this was Chicago's original pick from the trade with, like mentioned, with Seth Jones, and this is the pick they got, that the Columbus Blue Jackets got in return. And I think the Blue Jackets won with this trade, because they had they won with this trade, and they got a great player here in Jiricek. Right shot, big, heavy, physical defenseman. Good, got a really good shot from the point. He's listed at 6'3", 190 right now, and he's going to probably grow into his NHL frame to a certain point. And I just like what Columbus has done the last few drafts, especially in the first round, with Kent Johnson at 5, Sillinger at 12, who played full season in the NHL last year. And now they got Jiricek as a defenseman in their system. Oh, the Blue Jackets needed a defenseman, and they got one, and a good one in David Jiricek here.
I mean, it shores up their back end a little. I don't know if I shouldn't say that, because I don't know if he's going to be in the NHL next year.
Hard to say.
He's got the size to be in the NHL next year. Doesn't mean he.
I just don't know if he's got the game. Again, remember, always with defensemen, it always takes longer, and you always expect defensemen not to make the jump right away. It's hard to, and again, it takes certain defensemen, and I don't think he's going to make the jump right away, but he's going to be very good.
And they talk about right-hand defenseman.
Right shot defenseman.
Right shot defenseman.
Like, you can't really trade. It's hard to trade for a quality right shot defenseman, and the Blue Jackets did a great job in drafting one here. So, yeah, good pick. I like it.
So, You want to go? We'll go through the top 10 then, and then we.
We'll go through top 10, and then we'll come back to the trades and the absolute madness that was the Chicago, Montreal, New York Islanders trade pattern. We'll talk about it later.
So the Blackhawks was 7. This is from the DeBrincat trade that we discussed earlier.
Yes.
They take Kevin Korchinski from the Seattle Thunderbirds.
Yes, they do.
A guy who's been rising up draft boards all year. Yeah. Tall, offensively gifted defenseman. I joke, and I've mentioned this before, but he's the guy who, like, back in the day, you got a Mem Cup run or you got a WHL Finals bump because more scouts got the opportunity to see you. That was kind of the same with Kevin Korchinski.
Yeah, they had a good playoff run in Seattle in the WHL there.
Yeah. So now he gets to go to Chicago. He's a top 10 pick. He goes to Chicago.
Yep.
And he's going to be a Blackhawk.
I like it. I was not going to lie to you, viewers. I was hoping this guy would fall to 10 to go to the Ducks. He didn't. Kind of, another Seattle Thunderbirds defenseman that goes to Anaheim would have been cool. But he didn't. And I think Chicago was right in this pick here. Korchinski's game is really good. Ian, you got to see him a lot firsthand.
Yeah.
So you would know better than I would. But again, I just really liked his game and watching him in the WHL playoffs. And he was just, such a threat from the back end. And his defensive game definitely needs a bit of work, as many players, many defensive defensemen that are like this do. But again, the offensive talent and skill is there. It's just a matter of putting the whole game together. So,
and he'll be a nice replacement when the Blackhawks try and trade Seth Jones this summer.
Right.
So
let's talk about your guy, number 8.
Number 8, Marco Kasper, Detroit Red Wing.
The newest one
is kind of funny. We were watching the draft together, and I was like, they might go Savoy, they might go, Lambert.
Yep. Well, Lambert's not even gone yet.
Maybe they go Lambert. Who knows? And then I said, maybe they go off the board with Marco Kasper, because that would be an Eisman pick of going slightly off the board.
Yeah, but is he really off the board though? I don't think he is. Again,
I think this year has been another weird year of it's very subjective, these rankings of where you have these guys. Like I thought Lambert would have been a top 10, 15 pick.
Well, he was coming into the year, and then he slid a lot.
Yeah.
I think he might have, we'll see what happens in the last 4 picks here, but at this rate, he slid out of the first round. So
who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
But Kasper sounds like a really good guy.
Yeah.
He sounds like a real, glue guy in a sense, like a guy who they really, he'll run through a brick wall for you.
But again, here's the thing with that is he's a really skilled guy too. But
he is. Yeah. That wasn't what I was trying to take away from his skill. It's more like he got compared to Matthew Tkachuk, and he got compared to James Van Riemsdyk, JVR, and it's just like those are two guys, both skilled, who will run through a brick wall and will, one of those guys. He's a guy that you want on your team, and not somebody you want to play against.
Yeah, for sure.
And when the Red Wings go to the playoffs, whenever that is, maybe not this year, probably not this year, maybe the year after, that's a dude who might be like a middle 6 just beast and just hard in the paint.
Yeah,
going into the corners, will score a bunch of goals in front of the net, do it with a smile on his face. That sounds like a guy that I would love having on my team. So I'm not disappointed with the pick at all.
Fair enough. I like it. And again, the thing with Kasper too, you talk about JVR and Tkachuk. The thing Kasper has that those guys don't is that he can play center. And I think Kasper can play all 4 positions. And I like it.
And they're calling him, apparently his nickname is Ghost too, by the way. Kasper the Ghost.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Number 9, Matt Savoy.
Matt Savoy to the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I remember hearing, last year when the Sabres were going through some shit about how they didn't even have WHL scouts. Like they took Dylan Cousins without even really scouting him.
Right.
Which is funny now because they take Savoy.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've kind of been thinking leading up in the last few days of this. What if Matthew Savoy is just the best player in this class? Like he's a guy who I think people thought really highly of, thought that he would be a really talented player. And, he's got work to do, obviously.
For sure.
Like he's going 9th. He's not going, top 3. He's got to work on his skating a little bit. He's not not elusive. Like he's a bit of a Bambi. I think is what they were showing tonight.
No, I don't know if that's
Bambi's a little harsh.
I don't know if that's quite the place you're looking for. Savoy is one of the most. He could possibly be the most dynamic player in this class. Him and Logan Cooley are probably the two most talented players, possibly. And the thing with Savoy is that he talked about in his pre-draft interview about Monolith's game after Matt Barzal and Braden Point. And if he can be anywhere close to either of those two guys, I think the Buffalo Sabres have a win in my books here. And yeah, I like this pick for Buffalo. And I think, again, Savoy is such a dynamic, like skilled guy. I think they're going to be all over him. And it's going to be fun to watch. I was hoping this was another guy I was hoping would fall to 10 to my Ducks, but again, it's just not how it falls. So,
well, he can play make. He's got a really good shot.
Like one of the best shots.
One of the best shots. Like I love the Savoy pick. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this guy turns out to be the best player in this class.
There's a chance. Yeah, there is actually. Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised.
Yep.
He's just that good, and with how the draft works,
yep,
anything's possible. It's kind of too bad he's on the Sabres, but maybe hit him.
Well, we'll see now. Again, they have such a good prospect pool in Buffalo.
You have him. You have Dylan Cousins, Casey Middlestat.
Yep.
Depending on how you feel about Middlestat.
Yep.
They're probably looking for some more scoring.
Owen Power too.
Owen Power on the
Jack
back
Quinn.
end. Jack Quinn
got a great shot there.
Darlene is still there, but
he's young.
You're still looking for probably some scoring on the wings a little bit to win now, but and you're looking for a real legit goalie. Maybe Ukko-Pekka Lehkonen is that guy.
Pekka Luukkonen's getting there. We'll see. Yeah, the Sabres interesting, but they definitely took a good step. And again, the prominence of Alex Tuck and Peyton Krebs in that lineup, kind of in that return for Jack Eichel, has paid off really well. And the Sabres probably will not trade, in my opinion.
Let's do number 10 then.
It's my Ducks.
So your Ducks.
My Ducks took Pavel Mintyukov out of Saginaw. Yes, Russian defenseman, but plays in Saginaw, the OHL. 6'1", 192. Exciting player. He's got hands like a forward, and he's plays a physical, aggressive game. Very Ducks pick, and I think he's gonna slot in really well with Drysdale, Hellison, one of the defense that are already there, and
this kind of like, not to take away from the player, but this definitely feels like, well, Korchinski's gone, so we'll take.
Here's Mintyukov.
Here's Mintyukov.
Yeah, I would say so. And again, Mintyukov is almost a safer pick. Like you kind of know he's going to be a top 4, but Korchinski could be one of those. He could be a top pair guy, kind of thing. But we'll see.
And when they were talking about it tonight too, the Ducks D-core
is going to be stupid.
Yeah.
In about 3 years. Like it's. I mean, the guys on Sportsnet were talking about this at length, and again, I'm very, as a Ducks fan, I'm incredibly.
You agree
excited
with everything that they were saying?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, it's hard to argue when you've got. We'll talk about the other Ducks pick later. But it's hard to argue when you've got 4, at least potentially top 4 defensemen in your system, and Drysdale, Zellweger, Hellison, and now Mintyukov. And then you've got Zegras, you've got McTavish down the middle, and then and then some other guys. Braden Tracy's looking really good. Some of their guys, Sasa Pastujov is going to be some kind of player off the wing, and it's an exciting time to be a Ducks fan, that's for sure.
So let's talk about the trades then.
Sure.
Do we want to talk about Montreal with the Islanders?
Yes.
They send Alex Romanoff.
Yes.
To the Islanders.
Yes. And a 4th round pick. For number 13.
For number 13 and number 91.
Nope, that's it. Just 13. So the Islanders received the fourth round pick.
Oh, the Islanders received. Oh, the Islanders received the 4th.
Romanov and a 4th go to the Islanders in exchange for the 13th overall pick in the 1st round. Yeah, and then Montreal uses that pick, that 13th overall pick, along with their 66th overall pick. So that's a 2nd rounder, and it sends it to Chicago in exchange for Kirby Dach.
You would think Colton would have to be in that. You would think they're a package deal, no? Anyway, no,
Anyway.
I,
It's not quite how that works.
that's not okay. That's not like
No.
elementary school soccer where it's just like you
No,
have to pick.
I will say a sidebar. It was a really cool story that the Doc brothers got drafted to the same team. That was quite.
And now all that good PR is now absolutely it's absolutely gone.
But I will say this. I mean, the fact that this trade was announced in Montreal, because the draft is being held in Montreal. If you guys didn't know that,
you've been living under a rock.
It's the draft in Montreal. It's been a big deal. And the fact that this was announced in Montreal, the crowd was going. It was hilarious. One of the guys. Did you see the reaction?
Yes.
When they announced that Romanov was getting traded.
The first trade
was like, oh my gosh, are you joking? Yes. And then as soon as they announced Kirby Dach was going to Montreal, the fans are going ballistic because that's exactly the kind of player that the Montreal Canadiens needed. And now you really see a shift. Suzuki's a smaller guy, Caulfield's a smaller guy, and that's fine. But now you've got Slafkovsky, who's 6'4", 225. Kirby Dach, who's 6'4". I think he's about 215, 220 as well.
Taller than me.
Taller than you. Caden Gooley, who's still coming up. He's their first round pick from last year. Great defenseman, played on Team Canada, the World Juniors. He's 6'3", had a really good run at the Mem Cup with the Oil Kings this year. Montreal has kind of got the shift into a bigger, more physically dominant team. And I think Doc's going to be a great fit in Montreal.
I don't have anything to counter with that. I think it's a little disappointing that you had to trade Romanoff, considering like he's come along this year and was becoming a bit of a fan favorite.
Yeah,
but that's the price you pay for getting a Kirby Dach.
It is, but I don't know if he was really that good of a fit in Montreal. Yes, he was a fan favorite, but I just didn't think he fit.
I think he would fit
the system.
I think he was good. He was getting better when St. Louis took over and then compared to the previous coaches.
I just don't think he was quite the right fit in Montreal. I think he'll do better in Long Island.
From Montreal's perspective, they get their second line center.
Yeah.
That they were looking for with Christian Dvorak. Yeah. Now it's Kirby Dach.
Pretty good upgrade.
Pretty good upgrade, I would say. Even though Dach hasn't totally shown it at the NHL level, like he's had like spurts, but he hasn't like.
Again, he's still filling into his game. He's still a young kid.
Yeah.
He's only 20.
And he's been playing for a Blackhawks team that's like
hasn't been great, and he's been kind of sheltered a bit. Like I think Montreal is gonna give him a chance to shine. I think he's really going to.
So my question is, the hell are you doing if you're Lou Lamoriello and the Islanders?
Retool and go at it again. I don't know. Romanov, still got some promise. I like his game.
That does not seem like a Lou Lamoriello defenseman.
No, but the game's changing and Lou's got to change with it. I don't know. I do like the fact that the Islanders did get a younger defenseman in this trade so they can move Char out finally. And I would Romanov Dobson kind of a lethal deep pair. I don't know if you think about that, but that's kind of nice. You got to admit that. That's kind of nice.
It definitely goes like from the absolutely solid, dependable Pulak Pelech, then to Romanov Dobson, and who knows, maybe they're a third pair D. Their third pair D next year. It's a little chaotic, but it could be interesting. It could be interesting.
Could be interesting. We'll have to see.
And then from the Blackhawks perspective, God, this is an underwhelming return for Kirby Dach, isn't it? A first and a second.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, they sort of replaced Kirby Dach with their draft pick. They took another center, and Frank Nazar. But again, it's a little yes and no. But remember, again, to my point, and you said this as well, he wasn't working out all that great in Chicago. He wasn't like this big bona fide star, right? And again, for the Blackhawks, I think they're really clearing house, and I think they're really trying to just accelerate this rebuild, and moving out Dach and moving out DeBrincat are two big parts of that.
But here's my thing. They're doing this rebuild ass backwards. Because if you're doing a rebuild, you get rid of Taves and Kane. You already got rid of Keith.
But they're not going to move guys that won 3 cups for you. They're not going to move those two. I think are immovable. I think you don't move them until they retire. In all honesty, I think they're going to retire as Black. Maybe.
So when Kane's
maybe Kane will go somewhere and try win another cup. But
so when Kane's a UFA next year, we're just letting him walk.
Might have to, yeah. I mean, or he's like one of the best rental players in the market next year, which he might. And again, you saw that with Giroux.
And maybe that's a return you're getting. If you're getting a Giroux return, you can't even get a first for.
Yeah, but again, we'll have to see. And there's always so many side deals you just don't know, right? So, anyways,
so Chicago. I'm gonna give some quick grades here.
Sure.
Chicago gets a D for the day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Because you're doing this ass backwards.
That's I don't agree with that, but
you get Chicago. I think it's a D.
Okay.
Montreal. I think Montreal on the day probably gets like a B plus.
I don't mind that. Yeah, I don't mind that.
I think for Montreal, you wheeling Ken Hughes, wheeling and dealing.
Yep, I don't mind that. Interesting. I'm just looking at some of the picks that have been made since we've been
chatting.
Yeah, we'll get into our highlights of the bottom half of the second or the first round here in a bit.
So, and in Ottawa, I think they haven't been the best drafting team anyways in the last few years. They've kind of reached on some guys, but I like the fact that they just said, "Fuck it, we're gonna trade our 7th overall pick for a guy who could possibly score 40 goals for us."
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I don't mind it.
I don't mind that. Yeah. I think, again, the Senators kind of mindset and what they've got now, they're ready to win and they're ready to at least compete and get going. And so I like the move from Ottawa, and they got, DeBrincat, who's the best player in that trade and one of the biggest players on the market coming into like this off season. And it should be good. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in Ottawa.
So in my notes today, I basically went through the first 15 teams.
Sure.
And I had 4 different categories for each of these teams.
Okay.
Teams looking up.
Okay.
Seattle, Montreal, Arizona, Columbus.
Okay. Yep.
Arizona is a bit weird because they should be in the next category that I have, but I think things are looking up for Arizona. I think they are.
I would say so. We haven't talked about their other guy they drafted yet. I'm a huge fan of, but
with Arizona, maybe I'm jinxing it, but I feel like on ice, this is we've got through the worst.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think this past year was the worst of the worst of what we see from the Coyotes on the ice.
Yeah,
on the ice.
I don't mind that.
Then they took Cooley, and then they took who was the second?
Connor Geekie at 11th overall, brother of Morgan Geekie, who's this current Seattle Kraken.
Geek Squad,
yeah. And I think Connor's such a figure. I talked about earlier about how Arizona needs a change in attitude and a change in mentality. And I think Connor Geekie is such a charismatic guy and just an absolute character. And he's going to bring some life to that franchise along with Logan Cooley for sure.
So the second category I have here is just still rebuilding. These are teams that are just still rebuilding.
Yep.
That's Detroit.
Yep.
That's Anaheim.
Yep.
That's Buffalo.
Yep.
I could put Arizona in there, but I wanted to give Arizona a little bit of positivity because everything's looked so bleak for them.
Yep.
All those teams nailed their picks. Detroit, Anaheim, Buffalo, I think nailed their picks.
Yeah, the Casper pick in Detroit's really good.
Yeah.
Anaheim took Minchikov, and then they took Nathan Gaucher at 22, 6'3", 207. Centerman plays a hard game. He's not going to be a flashy, dynamic guy, but he's going to get the job done. He's going to be a really solid, two-way guy, and brings the compete level that the Ducks kind of have a brand of hockey like. And I like it. I like this pick out of the Quebec Remparts. Patrick Waugh coached.
It's kind of not to say that he's going to be this guy, but it reminds me of the Seth Jarvis pick, where Seth Jarvis in Portland was going from a professional the closest thing to a professional organization in junior hockey that you get with Portland.
Yep.
And he got drafted by Rod Brendamore and the Hurricanes, which is a really professional organization.
Absolutely.
And so it's this is a pick that makes sense and that's going to work out.
That's going to work out.
Gauthier kind of feels like that too, where he's going from Patrick Waugh with NHL experience who can get
really good system in Quebec and under the Ramparts, and now he's going to a Dallas Eakins coached Anaheim Ducks team who have been very good at developing. Especially defensemen, but just prospects in general. The Ducks have had a really good track record of drafting and developing their players, and they've done a good job with it. I mean, you look at Troy Terry's a 5th-round pick. So
then I have, what are you as a third category, which is kind of like teams that are,
Yep.
I feel like are in an identity crisis, or like, what are you trying to achieve? What is it that you do?
Yeah.
In that category, I have the Devils, because
Sure.
I don't know what the Devils are trying to be. Now they're going to try and win now, you feel like?
I would hope so. Yeah, I would.
They need a goalie. They have I think,
Yeah.
enough talent.
I mean, we talked about this pre-podcast. Like Mackenzie Blackwood, I think is good, but again, he needs a bounce back year. Like we'll have to see what he can
I don't
do.
think he's coming back.
Fair enough.
Philadelphia, I don't know what the Flyers are. I feels like they're going to try. They're almost like with Torts. Maybe they're going to go Broad Street Bullies. Like we're going to go back.
Maybe
We're going to go back to that.
Well, if that's what they're looking for, Cutter Gauthier certainly fits that style.
That's kind of what I'm wondering here. Maybe they sign Kadri in the offseason too.
Yeah, maybe.
I have the Ottawa Senators in the what are you? This was earlier today, but now it feels like with the DeBrincat trade, it's like, okay,
yeah.
Now you guys are going to try and go. Like now you guys are going to try and make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They need another goalie. They need, some more help defensively. San Jose, the Sharks are a weird team to me because they just fired their coach.
They did. Yep.
They hired Mike Greer, who I like as a GM.
I like that. I like that move.
I like that hire. But now with the Sharks, it's like you have 3 abysmal awful contracts.
Which 3? Carlson,
Vlasic, and Burns.
Okay, I guess so. 3 defensemen too.
3 defensemen.
Yikes.
You can make the argument the Logan Couture contract isn't great either.
Yep.
True. So you have a lot of shitty contracts in San Jose.
Yep.
I don't think you're good enough to win now. I don't think they're making that leap into the top 4 in the Pacific.
The Sharks are literally swimming, but they're I don't know what they are. I
like Vancouver more than I like San Jose.
Well, yeah, of course.
I like the direction the Canucks are going.
So do I. Yeah, I agree with that.
And then the final team I have, what are you, is Chicago. Like I had this earlier today before the DeBrincat.
Well, trade. Now they're a rebuilding team.
Yeah.
Now we know what they are. They're pure rebuild.
You're going for Connor Bedard next year. That's what the Blackhawks are doing. Is going for Connor Bedard.
I think they should, and they might get there. We'll see how some of the other teams play out, but I think Chicago will be near the bottom of the food chain, and Arizona will probably be down there again, and we'll see.
And then I had closer than we think, which is Vancouver.
Yep.
Vancouver today took. You can say the kid's name.
Jonathan Lekkerimäki, which is a guy from Sweden, right shot, one of the best shooters in the class, and some argue that he is the best shooter in the class in terms of putting the puck on a stick, and he's probably one of those guys that would have the snipe or the make it snappy X factor in NHL. Okay. I think that would be definitely that's his pure, he's a pure shooter and a goal scorer, and I think he's going to be a good fit with a Pettersson, with hopefully if JT Miller is still there, with a JT Miller and one of these guys that can kind of dish him the rock, and he can just rip it and just do his thing, almost like a second Besser, but maybe more dynamic than Besser. I don't know if he can be, but yeah.
Closer than we think, I had the New York Islanders because I was like, you know what? You can write off a lot of what happened last year with the Islanders. And now it's like, you got rid of Barry Trotz, which is
that weird. Was questionable. But again, I think that's less about Barry Trotz. It's more about the team needing, but the team needing a change of pace and a change of head coach.
So, and I know I get that Lou's trying to win now.
Yep.
And that first overall pick, or not the first overall pick, that first round pick this year was probably not going to do it. So the Islanders are a weird team to me now.
Mm-hmm.
And now closer than we think are the Winnipeg Jets. I had Winnipeg. It's if they want to run it back, if they want to play more defensive, if they want to just ride the Connor Hellebuck, train for a year with Rick Bonus and see how it goes, they could possibly sneak in as a wild card.
Well, here I'll tell you who they drafted. So they drafted Rutger McGroarty. Another great hockey name. He's a center or right winger. 6'1", 204, out of the National Training Program in the United States. He's a big solid guy. He was one of the captain. I think he was a captain of the U.S. under-18 national team. I was
gonna say probably the biggest smile of any prospect today.
He was fired up. The other guy they drafted, and this is a guy I've been talking about for a long time. They drafted Brad Lambert at 30. Yeah, which I like that. I really like that. Oh, we have a switch actually. Wow, that just happened right now. Arizona and Edmonton basically just switched picks. So the Coyotes traded up to 29 to select Maverick Lamoureux out of Drummondville. He's a 6'7", 199 right shot defenseman. He's a big boy. Yeah. If you thought Slavkovsky was big, get ready for Lamoureux. He's going to be a big physical guy on that back end. So I would say the Coyotes probably won this draft in terms of players they picked. I would say for sure, as they needed to. They needed to do some damage in this draft, and they had 3 first-round picks, and they definitely did the damage. But I also really like what the Jets did too.
Yeah, throwing some more grades out there. Probably Coyotes for myself. I give them an A.
I'd say an A for sure. Yeah.
You know, Seattle gets an A for the right pick.
That's less that they did that. That's more they just got it handed to them more or less. But
they still did it.
They still didn't went and dropped. They could have gone and taken Cutter Gauthier or Juracek in that spot. But I think coming into this draft, I think a lot of people thought Nemec was going to Seattle, which would have been a great fit too. But the fact they got right, and now they've got their centers locked, like their top 2 centers locked up for 5-10 years. That's huge.
So I think both our teams get an A. I'd give the Red Wings an A-. I'd give the Ducks an A.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Another guy I want to talk about, that's I really like. Well, there's the 3 Winnipeg guys. So Connor Geekie, Denton Matachuk.
Well, he's a Moose Jaw guy.
Well, he played Moose Jaw, but he's from Manitoba originally. And then Owen Pickering played in Swift Current, but he's also a Manitoba guy. Pickering was one of the U18 guy, the top U18 guys at the Canada at the World Under 18s. He's 6'4", 180. He's super skilled guy. Played. I had a chat with my colleague today. He shot up to 6'4". He was 5'9", 180. In his younger days,
he went from being a short king
to an absolute tall unit, and he had the puck skills and edge work and skating developed before he got big, and now he's a big guy. So I think Pickering's a bit like a slight steal that Pittsburgh got at 21, but I really like that pick for the Penguins as well. And there was another guy that really caught my eye. I talked about Brad Lambert as well at 30 to the Jets. Lamoureux, I like that pick as well. And then Miro Shnechenko out of Russia, played in Russia's second league this year. And again, there's the whole talk about the Russians with the Ukraine war and everything going on. And, would their stock slide? And it did. And again, Miro Shnechenko in a year where he had a full season, there wasn't any interruptions with any conflicts around the world, he could have gone in the top 10 very easily. And the fact that the Capitals, of all teams to draft a Russian, it's the Capitals, in that place with Ovechkin as the leader, it's going to be a good fit for him. And I think he's going to surprise people with how good he is. So it's
probably one of the best stories of the first round.
Yep.
Like you say, considering the Russian thing.
Yep. And he also had Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yeah, which was that, and that was a really cool story that he was able to come back from that and still play hockey, and he's working through it really well. And and
the fact that they he's a Capital, and there's a history of the Capitals in Russian. Some people were joking about how he likes to shoot it from the OB spot. Yeah, and it's just like that. That just seemed like a real feel good type pick that
I like that pick as a player for sure.
As much as we like picks based on fits or just the player or whatever, like this is a really good story, and this is the guy that you want to root for, that you want to support. So that's really nice for the Capitals to see and to make that happen.
Definitely.
Prospects I had to watch for written down: Kevin Korchinski, Matthew Savoy, Marco Kasper, Brad Lambert. Lane Hudson was another kid who I had. He's like 140-pound defenseman from like the U.S. national development team. He did not make the first round. I didn't think he would, but it's a size thing that really concerns me with him. It was interesting to see if somebody would take a run at him. Trade targets I also had today. DeBrincat and Doc, I had those written down. Trade targets. Jacob Chikrin
Oh, yep.
People have been talking about him. I don't think he's going to go now that first round picks are off the board.
Not yet. I mean, he might get traded anyways, whether it's free agency or he'll do like a sign and trade with someone. We'll have to see how that unfolds. But yeah.
I had JT Miller.
Oh, 100%. I think he'll, wow. It's hard to say. I don't know.
He can still go tomorrow. I still feel like there's a second or third somebody's willing to throw it.
Maybe not even tomorrow, just like in the next 2 weeks here. This is a busy 2 weeks again with free agency coming up next week. But yeah, we'll have to see about that for sure.
I have Matthew Tkachuk because Calgary's weird. Because Calgary, with Calgary depends on if they sign Gaudreau, right?
That's part of it. And also, well, Tkachuk's an RFA, so it's a matter of will a team offer sheet Tkachuk. And
when do you throw a Tkachuk? Like, you throw $9 million at Tkachuk? Do you throw?
You almost could
9.5.
I think you almost have to again.
Calgary has enough space that they can afford like Gaudreau and Tkachuk if they sign them both at 10.
Yeah, but then they're dead.
They're taking away from a lot of other things.
Other things, yeah. They could get both. And again, it's we talk about the whole Colorado Avalanche thing. Is that are they willing to take less money in order to maybe put together a championship team? And again, they've got a great goalie in Markstrom. Will they win the Stanley Cup? I don't know. They got a pretty solid defense core that could maybe use like an upgrade, they could use like a true number one guy.
Yeah.
That's what they're definitely missing in Calgary. And their forward group's pretty solid. They had great years from their first line. But it's a matter of will they get all three of those guys back? Will they get them, how will that all look?
Will they get that production again?
Exactly. And again, the Flames, as good as Gaudreau is, he's not oh my gosh, he's a superstar player. Because you look at you look at the four teams that made the conference finals in either side, they all had some sort of star player in their lineup, whether it was McKinnon, McCarr for the Avalanche. You could list a bunch of guys for the Avalanche, but you got McDavid, Draisaitl, and then the East, you've got, Point, Hedman, Kucherov, Vasilevsky. In Tampa, Stamkos even, and then you could throw like Shesterkin, you could throw Panarin in that pile, Adam Fox in that pile in New York, right? Yeah. So the Flames just don't, to me at least, like I said, as good as Gaudreau is, he had a great year this year. I don't think Gaudreau is quite on that echelon with some of those superstar players.
And he's
close though.
A lot of the things I've seen coming out of Calgary is that if the Flames aren't going to re-sign Gaudreau, just rebuild. Just sell off, just tear down.
Yeah, it's hard. They're in a weird spot. Yeah. Because Lindholm's not that old yet. He's only 29. Like Tkachuk's
not that.
Kachuk's pretty young. He's 25, I believe.
25, 26.
Like he's still young. And again, Markstrom's got some life left, and they're, like you said, they're in a weird spot. I don't know what Calgary's gonna do, and they didn't have a pick here in the first round, but we'll see what they do in the rest of the draft and in free agency. Because it'll be interesting to see that for sure.
Any other picks, team selections that you liked? I like the Owen Pickering pick as well. I thought that was a really good move for Pittsburgh.
I like that story. That was good.
That was good, solid selection. What was it? Nemel to
Joakim Kemmel to Nashville. That was probably, other than Lambert, probably the biggest slide of the draft. Kemmel fell from 7 in central scouting rankings to 17 to Nashville. And I like it. Nashville needs some scoring. And if Forsberg's gone, this guy's a good replacement. So if he's gone, and if Forsberg's still there.
Still, Nashville, historically has never had great, scoring forwards.
Nope, never.
And Forsberg's the one exception to that.
I would say, and even him, he's not like this super dynamic superstar player. He's really good, and I love Forsberg's game, but he's not at that,
He's not a top 10 player in the league.
No. And he's barely a top 30 player in the league.
Yeah.
So, I would say, Yossi's obviously the best player on that team by a landslide because he's fucking unreal. But yeah, I like the Kemmel pick. And again, if he turns out how he should, he slid from 7, so he's got top 10 talent. It's just a matter of can he put it together in the NHL.
Yeah, so Kemmel.
I like that pick. There were some other ones that were pretty good too, but we kind of talked about them at length a bit here.
Is there a pick you really don't like? Is there a pick that you really hate? There's not a pick I really hate. No, I feel bad for Kevin Korchinski having to go play for Chicago.
For Chicago, yeah.
But that's more I hate that for the player, not the actual team.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost think like I mean I'm gonna be talking about Brad Lambert for a long time. I think a lot of teams passed on him when they shouldn't have. I think he's gonna be assuming he can keep his consistency and kind of improve his compete. He could be one of the most dynamic and most electrifying players in this draft. And considering he went 30 to Winnipeg, I think, and again, he's a Finn, but he's Canadian. He's from the Saskatchewan area. I think he'll fit really well in Winnipeg, and I think he's gonna really like playing there. So I'm gonna watch him closely for sure. Brad Lambert.
So yeah, you don't really have a pick you hate then.
Not really, no. Like if I had to give you one, I would
say the Red Wings. It's fine.
Well, like it's not. I don't not like that pick. I just I don't know.
It's a bit of a reach.
It's a bit of a reach, yeah. Like
special guest cast.
Special guest, yeah. He doesn't like that pick either. No.
No.
I almost think, I don't think there's a bad pick here. In all honesty, I don't think there is.
All right. Any other final notes? Any other final thoughts before? Because I know you have to get going here. I dragged you out for the podcast, so I appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Of course.
Any other thoughts? Hot takes?
No. No. I like. Yeah. This is a good draft. I was looking forward to this draft. I was hoping. My Ducks had 2 picks in the top 32, and they were both good. I'm excited to see how Minchikov and Gaucher are going to fit into the Duck system, and with their already elite prospect pool, this is making it so much better. But no, it was a good draft, and it was fun. It was fun to do a podcast right after the draft so we get the live reaction. So it was fun for sure.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this, Scotty.
Course,
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you every one of you who watched and listened. We have some stuff coming up. I know I'm behind on podcasts. I know I'm behind on content. It happens when you're a wanted man, when you're busy.
You're busy.
Yeah. So we'll have more stuff coming out for you this next few weeks. I think I might be going away to Victoria in a couple weekends, covering some rugby.
Nice. That'll be good.
That should be fun.
Should be fun.
But be sure to check out our stuff on the website. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, watch our pretty faces talk, or his pretty face. Kaz is saying goodbye as well. Goodbye, Kaz. So we'll be back again soon. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back soon. Peace out.